You know how fake news just seems to explode online, spreading like wildfire? Well, what if I told you it has a secret, an emotional fingerprint that gives it away? We're going to dive into a really fascinating study that basically cracks the code on the hidden feelings that make misinformation so powerful. And look, the scale of this problem is just staggering. During the COVID-19 pandemic, it wasn't just a virus we were fighting. It was an infodemic. I mean, the World Health Organization itself said that all this misinformation was actually spreading faster than the disease, and it was leading to real psychological panic. So that really gets to the heart of it, right? What is it that makes fake news so sticky, so viral? Is it just about the lies? Or is there something else going on? Something deeper that just grabs you and makes you hit that share button without even thinking? That's the mystery we're going to try and solve.
Okay, first up, to really get why this matters so much, we've got to look at the real-world damage. This isn't just an online thing. It has serious offline consequences.
Yeah, this is way beyond just silly arguments on social media. We're talking about real, serious damage. The research points to some crazy examples, like people actually burning down 5G towers because of completely baseless rumors. Or how about this? A fake story made Pepsi's stock drop by 4%. And don't even get me started on all the dangerous medical advice that was floating around. The stakes here, they're incredibly high.
So that led some researchers to a really interesting hunch. They started thinking, what if the key difference between real and fake news isn't about the facts or the logic? What if it's all about feelings? What if the whole secret is in how these stories are built to make us feel something? And from that hunch, they formed a really clear hypothesis they could actually test. The idea was this: fake news is basically engineered to provoke stronger negative emotions than real news. It's not an accident, it's by design. And that's something you can measure. Okay, so how did they actually test this idea? Well, you can think of it like a digital forensics investigation. They were basically dusting for emotional fingerprints all over the data. Their process was super methodical. First, they gathered a huge pile of evidence, over 10,000 tweets about COVID, all neatly labeled as either real or fake. Next, they scanned every single one for clues, using special tools to figure out the sentiment. Is it positive or negative? Then they dug even deeper to identify the specific emotional fingerprints, like fear, anger, trust. All 8 of them. After that, they trained up some AI detectives to spot fake news based on the text alone. And for the final step, the big test, they retrained those AIs, but this time they gave them the emotional clues. The question was, would it make them better detectives? All right, now for the big reveal. This is where it gets super interesting. What did their emotional forensics team actually uncover? Let's take a look at the evidence. Whoa, okay, check this out. The difference is pretty stark, isn't it? If you look at real news, it's a mix of positive and negative, but then look at the fake news. The negative sentiment is noticeably higher. So bam, right there, the first part of their hunch is confirmed. Fake news definitely leans way more into negativity. So we've established that fake news is more negative. But, negative is a really broad word. To find that unique fingerprint, we've got to get more specific. What exact emotions are we talking about here? What's the secret recipe? And here it is. This is the smoking gun. Just look at fear. Sure, it's the #1 emotion in both. I mean, it was a pandemic, that makes sense. But in fake news, it is completely off the charts, making up a whopping 2/3 of the emotional content. Now contrast that with trust. For real news, it's a strong #2. But for fake news, it barely registers. This is that emotional fingerprint we've been talking about, clear as day. So let's just break that down. The key takeaway is this: fake news is built on a foundation of anger, disgust, and especially fear. Real news, on the other hand, it leans way more into things like anticipation, surprise, and trust. It's like they're using 2 completely different emotional recipes. And that intensity of fear, that seems to be the main active ingredient for misinformation. Okay, so this is all really fascinating, but here's the payoff. This isn't just an academic exercise. This discovery has a very real, practical use, building much smarter tools to actually fight this infodemic. So the million-dollar question is, does it actually work? Can you teach an AI to spot this emotional manipulation? If you give these emotional clues to a machine learning model, does it actually get better at sniffing out fake news? And the answer is a resounding yes. Just look at this. For one of their AI models, the accuracy jumped from 79% all the way to 81%, simply by adding in the emotional data. Now, a 2% jump might not sound like a lot, but in the world of AI, that's a really solid improvement. It proves these emotions aren't just random noise, they are a clear signal. And it gets even better. When they used a more advanced AI model, one that was already super accurate, the results were even more dramatic. Its accuracy shot up from 96.1 to 97.2%. And trust me, when you're automatically sifting through millions and millions of posts, that extra 1% makes a huge difference. So what's the big takeaway from all this? It's actually pretty simple, but it's powerful. The emotional content of a news story, it's not just fluff. It's a predictable, measurable feature. It's a tell. It's a clue that can help us and our technology tell the difference between what's real and what's fake. And that really leaves us with one last big question to think about. If an AI can be trained to spot this kind of emotional manipulation, can we? Can we learn to do the same thing? Maybe the next time a headline makes you feel that sudden rush of anger or fear, the best thing you can do is just take a breath, pause for a second, and ask yourself, why am I feeling this?